Welcome back to another new module on geology related natural hazards and their management. In this module, we will discuss about various aspects about drought. Drought is a prolonged dry period in the natural climate cycle that can occur anywhere in the world. Drought is a natural disaster that nobody can stop from coming, but we can prepare for the effects of this natural disaster to make it less difficult. The human and natural systems are victims of diverse impacts of drought. Drought can have a serious impact on health, agriculture, economies, energy and the environment. Drought is shortly the unusual dryness of soil due to the low level of rainfall. Drought occurs when rainfall is significantly below average over a prolonged period. It is an event of shortage in the water supply, surface water or groundwater. A drought can last for years, months or days. Shortage of water, dry and hot winds, rise in temperature and consequent evaporation of moisture from the ground contribute to conditions of drought. Droughts are considered a natural disaster as it disturbs our whole ecosystem. Drought is considered as the recurring feature of the climate in most parts of the world. These days, regular droughts have become more extreme and more unpredictable because of climatic changes. Next, we can discuss about types of droughts. First, we can discuss about meteorological drought. Meteorological drought occurs when there is a prolonged time with less than average rainfall. Meteorologists define drought on the basis of the degree of dryness and the duration of the dry period. It is defined by comparing the current precipitation or dryness to the average or normal precipitation or dryness. Meteorological conditions that result in drought vary greatly from region to region. The definition of a meteorological drought must be region specific. Next type of drought is agricultural drought. This type of drought affects crop production or the ecology of the range. The conditions of drought can arise independently due to any change in precipitation levels, irrigation or soil conditions. An agricultural drought is considered to be taking place when a lack of rainfall leads to a decline in soil moisture affecting pastures and rain-fed crops. Agricultural droughts can occur over various reasons, including low precipitation, the timing of water availability, decreased access to water supplies, or increased water demands from the sector. Another type of drought is hydrological drought, which occurs when the deficiency of precipitation contributes to inadequate surface or surface water supplies, such as lower than normal stream flow, groundwater level and reservoir level. The influence of hydrological drought on watershed or river basin is the determinant of its severity. Hydrological droughts refers to a lack of water in the hydrological system, manifesting itself in abnormally low stream flow in rivers and abnormally low levels in lakes, reservoirs and groundwater. Next is socio-economic drought. Socio-economic drought associates the supply and demand of a particular economic good with drought conditions. It occurs when the shortage of water supply causes demand to exceed the supply of an economic good. In other words, it is a situation where the physical water shortage affects people. The main cause of socio-economic drought is the contradiction between water supply and demand. Hence, as local reservoirs play a major role in improving water supply and coping with the extreme climate, it is reasonable to estimate socio-economic drought based on reservoir operations. Next, we can discuss about causes of drought. A drought is mainly the cause of drier conditions. It is comparable to normal conditions that eventually lead to water supply problems. Really hot temperatures, which eventually cause the moisture to evaporate from the soil, can make drought worse. If any region is hot and dry, it does not always mean that it is going through a drought. The dry season greatly increases drought occurrence. It is characterized by its low humidity with watering holes and cracks and rivers drying up. Due to the lack of these watering holes, a watering hole is nothing, a natural hole in which have capacity to bear water. These watering holes, many animals unwillingly migrate. This migration is due to the lack of water in search of more fertile lands. Drought also occurs by unique air circulation and weather patterns. Soil moisture levels also lead to drought. There is the evaporation of water for the creation of clouds when the soil moisture depletes. Demand, need and supply of water issues are also a cause of droughts. Land and water temperatures cause droughts. As the temperature increases, more water evaporates and severe weather conditions also increase. Landscapes and crops need more water for their survival and growth, and thus the overall demands for water increases gradually. Next, we can discuss about some of the major reasons behind drought. First one, precipitation deficiency. Mechanisms of producing precipitation include convective, stratiform and orographic rainfall. Convective process involve strong vertical motion that can cause the overturning of atmosphere in that location within an hour and cause heavy precipitation, while stratiform process involve weaker upward motions and less intense precipitation over a longer duration. Next one is dry season. Within the tropics, distinct wet and dry seasons emerge due to the movement of the intertropical convergence zone or monsoon. Through the dry season greatly increases drought occurrence and is characterized by its low humidity with watering holes and rivers drying up. Because of the lack of these watering holes, many grazing animals are forced to migrate due to the lack of water in search of more fertile lands. Next reason is erosion and human activities. Human activity can directly trigger exacerbating factors such as overfarming, excessive irrigation, deforestation and erosion adversely impacts the ability of land to capture and hold water. In arid climates, the main source of erosion is wind. Erosion can be the result of material movement by the wind. The wind can cause small particles to be lifted and therefore moved to another region. Suspended particles within the wind may impact on soil objects, causing erosion by abrasion. Next cause of drought is climate change. Global climate change is expected to trigger droughts with a substantial impact on agriculture throughout the world and especially in developing nations. Along with the drought in some areas, flooding and erosion could increase in others. Some proposed solutions to global warming that focus on more active techniques, solar radiation management through the use of a space sunshade for one, may also carry with the increased chances of drought. Climate change affects multiple factors associated with droughts, such as how much rain falls and how fast the rain evaporates again. Next, we can discuss about drought monitoring. It is very important. Effective drought monitoring is an integrated component of drought risk management, which aims to summarize characteristics such as drought severity, duration and spatial extent. A substantial development in drought monitoring strategies have occurred during last 50 years around the world, evolving from traditional monitoring as gauging station measurement of rainfall and flow condition, point estimate of hydrologic attributes, to advanced methods of satellite remote sensing techniques. This allows decision makers to make informed decisions for drought mitigation. To better facilitate drought monitoring and evaluation, modeling approaches that integrates hydrologic process, computing techniques and GIS have gained much applications. Percent of normal. A percent of normal precipitation as a typical approach in characterizing drought is to calculate the deviation of precipitation in current time period from its long term mean, defined as normal. The time scale can vary from daily, monthly, seasonal to annual. Its simplicity and transparency have made it a popular method in characterizing drought, although it does not quantify other features of drought as drought duration. Next approach is Palmer Drought Safety Index. Palmer Drought Safety Index, short form PDSI, was originally developed by Palmer in 1965 as a meteorological drought index, and it has wide application in United States and some other countries. It incorporates a supply demand model by considering soil moisture availability as supply, including antecedent and current soil moisture and precipitation, and potential evapotranspiration as demand. It aims to estimate relative dryness from local mean conditions. Next, we can discuss about drought mitigation strategies. Drought mitigation approaches or strategies are responsive measures that aim to reduce potential impact of an ongoing drought. Traditional drought management often treats drought as an emergency, and reactive drought measures, sometimes poorly coordinated and ultimately are implemented during the drought. Because of the emphasis on crisis management, it primarily focuses on short term drought control rather than building society's resilience to future episodes of drought. Then we can discuss about some measures in which we can adopt to control or regulate drought impacts. First, we can discuss about institutional measures. These measures helps to establish a drought response plan that involves regular drought monitoring, trigger levels for drought declaration, and tailored drought mitigation actions are one of the most important measures at institutional levels. A drought response plan serves as the operation guidance for a water utility during drought period. Such a plan considers the regional water supply systems, supply sources, for example, surface water, groundwater, and possibly desalination plant production, and identifies vulnerable components of the system and how it could be subject to different episodes of drought. Next have to discuss is water supply mitigation measures. Water supply reduction due to reduced stream flow or lowered reservoir levels is an immediate impact of drought, posing threat to meeting regional water demand. Since surface water is more vulnerable to hydrologic drought, water supply utilities with surface water as the sole supply source are at a higher risk of having a supply shortfall. A diversified supply source enhances a utility's reliability. Maximizing existing supplies through operational optimization should be first explored before looking for any additional water supplies. Such measures include identifying if any water leaks in transferring pipes or pipelines, operating reservoirs at a lower level that could not occur during normal condition. Next we can discuss about what are the consequences of drought. Some common consequences of drought are diminished crop growth or yield productions, dust bowls and dust storms when drought hits on area suffering from desertification and erosion. Another after effect is famine that we all know. Next effect is habitat damage affecting terrestrial and aquatic wildlife. Malnutrition, dehydration and related diseases is a major consequence of drought. Mass migration of people in search of food and water is very common. Shortages of water for industrial and domestic purposes are another after effect of drought. Fight over natural resources including water and food may also arise because of drought. Okay, dear students, how to prevent droughts? To deal effectively with the drought, here are some typical measures. Interlinking of natural water resources, especially like rivers. Agriculture and irrigation patterns need change. Water transportation channels need to be maintained properly. Leakages are bad. Water intensive industries should be away from water deficit regions. Have water trains on standby. Attach them to the units of disaster management teams. As soon as possibility of drought arises in a region, the water trains can reach there. We need to prevent deforestation and thus we require a afforestation program. Judicious use of water. awareness that wasted water won't come back easily. Next, we can discuss about drought preventive methods. The best method is avoiding overuse. One of the biggest strains on our water supply is simple, that is overuse. Being mindful of the amount of water you use each day can be a powerful way to prevent drought. Turning off the faucet while you brush your teeth, water your garden early in the morning so less water evaporates, and installing low flow plumbing fixtures all are good ways to prevent wasted water. High efficiency appliances such as washing machines and dishwashers helps to reduce water consumption, as do high efficiency valves and other features. Next is conserving water. Water doesn't always have to be in drinking condition for us to use it for other needs. That means, in many cases, we can reuse water to help conserve our supplies of fresh potable water. One of the easiest ways you can do this is to collect rainwater with a rain barrel. Use the rain barrel to water your garden instead of the garden hose. This also has the side benefit of preventing rainwater from collecting pollutants as it runs through the streets on its way to the water supply. Certain plumbing fixtures can be installed to divert water used in sinks, bathtubs and washing machines to flush toilets or water landscaping. Next is better monitoring. Technology has made it possible for households and business to gain greater insight into how they use their resources, and so-called smart plumbing is on the rise. With advanced monitoring technology, water consumers can see exactly how much water they use, which can make them more mindful and help them identify leaks and areas where their plumbing may be inefficient. Next method is water storage. Understanding where your water comes from will help you understand what you can do to mitigate the effects of drought. Your water supply might be from surface waters or from groundwater. Conserving water is the best way for us to make sure that we all have water even when we are in drought. But sometimes, if a drought is very severe or if people don't use less water, we have to make sure we have enough water. Let's take a look at some ways to store water and get that stored water to people when it's needed. Dams. Many people rely on rain or snow that flows into rivers for their water. When we have a drought, we might not have enough rain or snow to keep enough water in the river for all the people who need the water. In this situation, the construction of dams will be very useful. When a dam is built on a river, a large lake called a reservoir is made. The reservoir stores the water for people's use. Reservoirs can provide fish and wildlife habitat and also are often great places for us to boat and fish. They also can be used to produce power. Next method is the construction of groundwater and wells. Another source of water is groundwater. Aquifers are like groundwater lakes. Just like lakes, above the ground, aquifers can be different sizes. Next is canals and pipelines, which helps to store water. Water canals and pipelines have been built in many places to make sure that as many pupils as possible have access to water supplies. Canals and pipelines are used to transport water from reservoirs and wells to farmers for irrigation and cities for drinking water. Another approach to minimize water shortage is desalination. We need fresh water for drinking, for our daily activities and for growing our food. But almost all of the water on the surface of earth is salt water from the oceans and seas. In fact, 97% of all water on the earth is salt water. People have been trying to find a way to use ocean water in place of fresh water for many years. With the new technology turning sea water into fresh water that we can drink and use is becoming much easier and much cheaper today. Next method to control water shortage is rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting has seen major growth in recent years, and this is something everyone should adopt. With the rainwater harvesting, homes can store the water they get it from rain and then use it when they need it in dry conditions. In urban areas, only 15% of rainwater enters the ground, while in rural areas 50% of rainwater is absorbed into the ground. Rainwater harvesting provides both urban and rural areas with an efficient option to store rainwater and then reuse it in times of drought. Rainwater harvesting is a great way to combat drought and is now encouraged among farmers and herders to provide their agriculture with water in times of drought. Drip irrigation. Drip irrigation helps to achieve optimum water delivery for plants and optimum moisture in the soil. The advantage of such a system is that it does not result in water wastage. Nowadays, many companies have come forward providing the market with cost effective and innovative drip irrigation systems. Technologically advanced farms are moving towards the drip irrigation systems that can operate without human intervention. The highly targeted nature of drip irrigation ensures that each plant gets the right amount of water delivered right on its roots. Crop engineering, that is another method of reducing water wastage. We can build new mechanisms outside of the plants to keep them watered and safe from drought, but we could also genetically engineer them to be resilient to conditions where the water content in the soil is very low. Food production is a crucial part of keeping the population alive. However, droughts can affect the productivity and tip the balance of food available to the masses. Crop engineering helps to tweak the genetics of existing crops to help them increase their yield and provide them with a better resistance to drought. Researches have been done by various organizations around the world in effort to engineer crops that can withstand the harshness of droughts. Next, we can discuss about things we can do before a drought. First, indoor water conservation tips prior to drought. Never pour water down the drain when there may be another use for it. For example, use it to water your indoor plants or garden. Check all plumbing for leaks and have any leaks repaired by a plumber. Retrofit all household faucets by installing aerators with flow restrictors. Insulate your water pipes to reduce heat loss and prevent them from breaking. Install a water softening system only when the minerals in the water would damage your pipes. Turn the softener off while on vacation. Next one is outdoor water conservation tips prior to a drought. Plant native and or drought tolerant grasses, ground covers, shrubs and trees or small plants. Small plants require less water to become established. Group plants together based on similar water needs. Install irrigation devices that are the most water efficient for each use, such as micro and drip irrigation and soccer hoses. Use much to retain moisture in the soil. Mulch also helps control weeds that compete with the landscape plants for water. Leaves grass clippings on lawn to shade and return nutrients to soil. Consider using rainwater collection systems to water plants and gardens. These are some of the images related to drought. With this, I hereby conclude this module. Drought is one of the most damaging natural disasters that we have faced in recent years. By bringing innovative ideas and solutions, we can reduce the effects of droughts as well as put measures in place to prevent the occurrence of this natural disaster altogether. An estimated 55 million people globally are affected by droughts every year, and they are the most serious hazard to livestock and crops in nearly every part of the world. Drought threatens people's livelihoods, increases the risk of disease and death, and fuels mass migration. So, we have to make measures to reduce drought impacts. Thank you, dear students. We can meet with another interesting module next time. Thank you.